Ladies and gents, welcome back to another Engineers podcast. Today we're joined by Vojtech, who's senior EM at Deepnote. And Deepnote is a real-time collaborative data notebook. They're doing some cool stuff. It's allowing data scientists, engineers, analysts, and developers to write, run, and share code and create apps on dashboards in an instant cloud environment. So we're going to be doing some deep diving into Deepnote's product, the challenges associated with allowing users to run arbitrary code in cloud infrastructure, and that ever-growing topic of AI at the moment. So we will touch on a number of things today. First and foremost, we want an intro from the man himself, Vojtech. Nice to meet you. How you doing?
Hey, yeah, I'm great. So thanks for having me in. I'm Vojtech. I'm, as you said, senior EM in Deepnote. I'm with Deepnote for like 1.5 years almost now, and I'm managing the core product teams for Deepnote. So I hope I can share some of the insights that we have, especially for the engineering. I think that's why we are here, right?
Love it. We were actually talking a couple of seconds ago offline. There's a bit of hype around Czech Republic, Prague at the moment. A lot of US based businesses coming and setting up hubs at the moment. We named a few: Product Board, Microsoft, Deepno, others. What's going on right now?
Well, I think it's very easy, right? Like it used to be San Francisco, it used to be Silicon Valley, but look at there, right?
Yeah.
It's getting empty. People are remote, people are not coming to the offices are empty. Now the cool kids are going to the cool places, and that's Prague, right? So if you're thinking about relocating, just relocate to Prague. There's all the companies, there's all the fun, and we have lots of beer. So I think that's all the hype.
Loads of beer,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. Okay. Fine. I won't go then. I'm useless. I'm useless. Give us your best pitch on Deep Note. I've done my 20 seconds, but give us the real juicy pitch on what sells Deep Note.
Yeah, so Deepnote is basically a data collaborative notebook. We have two pitches actually, so I'll go through both. If you're our target customer and you're familiar with the concept of notebooks or a Jupyter notebook, that's very easy then, right? Deepnote is basically Jupyter notebook on steroids. It's full of collaboration, online collaboration. It's deployed for you as a SaaS product in AWS or in the cloud, right? You don't have to do anything in maintaining. And there's also a lot of integrations that you could just like one click fill in a few details and you're integrated to your data stores. And then we have loads of AI on top of that. We have autonomous AI. We have a lot of co-pilot or style of like filling your code for you. We have prompt suggestions. We have suggestions of blocks and so on. For the people that are not familiar with this, as I think there's going to be quite some, because we are in an engineering podcast, that's going to be a more interesting intro, right? So basically, I'll start with what data notebook is. It's this universal, lovable platform or medium where you basically share not only code but also like text and things. It's like imagine Markdown with code snippets inside of it. So that's basically what notebook is, and you can evaluate that code. You can run it. You can print out the results. You can have data frames. You can have tables. Like imagine combining a Markdown with Excel sheet and other stuff, right? Connecting to your databases, data stores, warehouses, and so on. That's all in one notebook. And then on top of that, we basically do have all of this UI. We call it basically like an IDE for the engineers, data engineers, data scientists, data analysts, right? And for that, you can also publish it into a runnable app so that, for example, if you're an engineer and you want to create like an admin dashboard with some tracking, maybe with some actions, you don't actually need to build it. You just create a notebook with a few connections, with a few queries or whatever, right? And then you publish it as an app, and that app can be run as part of your system. It's very easy.
Love it. Developer platforms or customer products, they fascinate me, like the intricacies of it, the level of complexity, nuance that goes into it. I know we're going to touch on that, but there are a couple of products in the market, and I did want to explore what makes Deepnote, your Deepnote's product, innovative, different to anything else that you might see on the market.
Well, I think it's the simplicity, right? We are creating a very simple environment, very simple universal media, basically, how you can interact with your data, with your code, with your knowledge base, basically, within the company, and you can achieve the things that you want to achieve very easily, right? So basically, our pitch towards the data companies is that not only that we can support the data teams, we also can support the non-data people, right? Given the AI features that we gave on top of this in the past year and a few months, right? There is basically any executive coming to Deepnote being able to pull out the data, right? You're a business owner and you're wondering how much of these kinds of products have you sold in the past year. It used to be that you had to go into some dashboards, and if in the dashboard it wasn't prepared already, you had to ask some of your data person to create it for you, create the dashboard, create the metrics, whatever. It would usually take a round trip of maybe a few hours, maybe a few days, depends on the scale of the company. But here, as long as you have your data sources connected and the data is somewhere in there, you just ask a simple prompt, hey, what is this? How much of these items have been sold in the past year? And you receive the result.
Explain some of your approach to engineering or product engineering, specifically in your case. I'd really love to just take a little bit of a deep dive into what's the approach, how you're solving problems. Like I said, there's so much intricacy, I think, with your product, especially. Be good to understand like the mindset and approach.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to it, right? So what we're doing is we are customer centric. We are customer first, and we always put our customers on top of everything, right? So if there is some tangible problem running on, we have to like leave everything we're doing, and we are on our way to help the customer. That's like that's engraved basically in our minds that hey, whenever a customer is facing a problem, we have to solve that, right? But it doesn't stop there, right? We are always customer centric in terms of asking our customers. We have really nice relationships with our customers. We have like shared Slack channels. We are sharing feedback and so on, and we're always talking to them and trying to incorporate whatever they tell us, whatever they have for us into our product. And of course, when we are shipping new things, we have these friends within our customers that we ship them to as like a private beta or something, and we collect the feedback very early on so that we can ship very nice and lovable product. That's again one of the things that we're doing, right? We are shipping lovable products. You can imagine that if you're shipping something such as an IDE for an engineer, something that the people spend in working like 8 hours a day, maybe even more. If you ship something that's below the lovable point, they just gonna use something else, right? If you are forced to use something for 8 hours a day, and I hope they are not forced to use it. I hope they chose to use it, but it still work, right? So if you are to use this for 8 hours straight every single day, it needs to be lovable, and every single thing that drives you mad, that's just going to ruin your day. And not only today, but also tomorrow and the week after, once it's fixed.
Yeah.
That's the only way how this can be resolved, right? So that's like our approach to the engineering. That's our mantra, what we're doing. If we want to go to the technical details and how we structure things and so on, we can do, but that's like the overall direction we are aiming for.
The approach is very customer centric, customer first. And And what does that really look like? Because I can understand open communication channels, fast feedback loops, but actually delivering on that and being very customer centric, they are, in my mind, two different things. As in, you can have open
Mhm.
channels, but you can be that type of company that is like fixated on solving every single issue. How does how does it really work inside of like a product and engineering business, like on that granular level, when your customers giving you all of this feedback to really improve what you're building, maybe just even specifically for them?
Oh yeah, so that's again like a really nice use case for prioritization, I would say, right? So what we employ here is very short feedback loop. When a customer comes in and they have a problem, or maybe they have suggestion or feedback, it usually comes from multiple channels, right? Maybe an email, maybe some button within our platform. Yes, but those are like the anonymous customers, someone who just like clicked on it. You don't have that much possibilities to react on that. But if you have like an open channel with some of our customers, and they share something with us, we make sure that the people that are relevant to this always see this, right? If that's something with certain team or certain code owners or product owners, like feature owners, we make sure that those people are tagged there and they notice. And usually it's them responding to that, right? It's not like, hey, there's a support guy who sits there all day long and just collecting the feedback and trying to put everything into one place, right? It's basically us
Yeah.
dealing with that. And of course, being a bit structured. So then we create a linear ticket, and of course, the customer can eventually then be notified based on that linear ticket status if that feature is coming, if it was descheduled, if it's in the progress, right? If it was shipped, and so on. So we always try to make sure we share the whole story of it, right? If there's a feature request or if there's a ticket in linear, we need to make sure that it's the overall life cycle of it is captured from the very beginning. Who requested that and for what reason? Is it blocking for their work? Is it something they just like want to have as a nice feature, nice to have? To the very end where this gets planned to our cycle. It gets picked by an engineer, it gets deployed, tested, whatever. It goes to general availability, and then the feedback loops closes by telling the customer, hey, the thing that you just requested or requested in the past has just shipped and it's available for you.
Understood. So I hear a lot of people talk about it, and don't get me wrong, I fully trust every single business, right? There's so many tools out there that you can choose from, but really just like going another layer deeper into that mindset of people, of how companies actually deal with people or company requests, I think is useful to understand, especially if you're a user as well, right? And you're submitting feedback. I think it'd be good to transition into like the engineering challenges and that technical overview of what you were talking about. So just give us an idea of what Deepnote under the hood might actually look like from a technical standpoint, and some of the technologies you're using, and why you're using them.
Yeah. So that's a very nice question. I'll try to give you a very brief overlook of what we have,
Yeah.
right? So we have our main product, the main UI for the product, basically as well, right? That's the notebooks. The customer comes in. There might be some sign up flow, like basic tour in the beginning, whatever. We just ignore that now, and they go directly to the notebook. What it
Yeah.
actually does is they see the UI, they see the text, the blinking cursor, the blocks they can add to their notebook. But what also happens on the background is that in our Kubernetes cluster, there is a spawn instance of this, let's say, kernel. It's like a Jupyter kernel that is then responsible for evaluating the code, right? So when the customer types in a Python code, that they need to evaluate it, right? They hit run, the notebook starts running, That means we have to, from the front end, push all of the things to, of course, our databases, caches, all of these layers, right? Let's not go too deep into the levels, and then it needs to go directly to that instance of this separated, is isolated block of a small machine running that evaluates the code, spits out the results, and those results bubble out again back to the front end so that you know and you see what was evaluated there. And given the fact that you can have like one block of code, you can have multiple, you can combine SQL, Python, R, like all of these other languages, you can combine it with text, maybe even images. Yes, there is a lot of machinery in the background that needs to be happening in order for this to function. And I haven't even started with the fact that some of our customers maybe need to train their models, their statistical models or AI models on the hardware, right? So that basically means you need to scale it up with some GPUs on the
Yeah.
infrastructure. Make sure the model is trained, everything's saved, everything's correctly displayed in the notebook and returned. So yes, there's a lot of complexity. And on top of that, you add real-time collaboration, right? Just as Notion, just as Google Docs, you basically see in real time whatever and whoever is doing in your notebooks workspaces, and you can interact with that. So that's again a totally flipped on its head with the real-time collaboration.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think the real fascinating thing for me is the real time collaboration part, as in, um, from a person who uses Google Docs, other tools, fascinates me. But even, on Deep Notes level, slightly different use case. And I think some of the challenges, especially because you're catering so much for people in the data space and the challenges that come with that. Um, I just think it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, it definitely is. It still astonishes me, even though I know like all the ups and downs and all the technical details and how most of the things work, at least on like an intermediate level or like an a higher level with all the like components and black boxes that we have in place. It's still
Yeah.
astonishing how that works and how magical basically that is. Well, until something breaks, then it's no longer magical. Then it's then it's a bit of a problem.
Talk to us specifically about running arbitrary code on cloud infrastructure and what that looks like.
It's a very, very dangerous thing, right? Imagine that you allow whoever comes from wherever part of the internet, right? And you allow them to create a free account in your platform. And you basically give them a machine, a virtual environment somewhere in the cloud that you are paying for to do whatever they want. And when I say whatever, I actually mean whatever, right? Like we don't basically forbid anything. If you really need to you need to download certain libraries, you need to prep up your environment for, like whatever, transforming videos, maybe doing some magic with images. Maybe you need to train your mental models, sorry, the AI models for the AI, right? You can do basically everything, but that comes with a lot of risk, right? We need to be sure that all of these things are isolated, that nobody can knock down the whole system, nobody can basically DDoS it by running arbitrary thingy all and all over, right? We need to make sure that people are not stealing data from others, right? Because if you can imagine,
Okay.
we have our customers, for example, banks that use Deepnote for fraud detection, and they use it in production. It's not just like some data analysis that, hey, let's see what this does, like let's clean up some data and push it elsewhere. No, we actually have companies that use Deepnote in real time to detect fraud with credit cards and so on. And you can imagine if somebody gets to that data, it's going to be really bad, right? So
What systems and processes have you got in place to prevent that specifically? Because you're right. the level of protection that you need to go to reduce that risk is quite some level. So systems, processes are important. What are they?
Yeah, so there is plenty. There is separation, right? If you're having a customer that's having loads of data there, you don't want basically to be in the same, let's say, cluster or the same space as everyone else, right? So that's very first layer. You separate the free users, the potential abusers from the paying
Yeah.
users, and as well you separate the ones that are on a trial from the free users, and you separate your enterprise clients, basically everyone into
Yeah.
separate environment. That's like the first level of protection you can do. Then,
Yeah.
of course, there's this protection inside the AWS, inside the Docker, and all of it you can do. Then you need to make sure that basically everything's cut away from communicating from each other, except through the layers that we have in place and the channels, right? And then you need to have quite a lot of monitoring and detection in place so that if somebody starts mining crypto, which is actually something that's happening quite often for us, you need to kill it ASAP, right? And we're like, sometimes we joke that like half of the time we spend on honing the product and making it better is basically the time we spend on detecting the people that are trying to abuse Deepnote and the people that are trying to crypto. And our crypto killer is it's basically like the one of the best pieces that we have in place, right, for the whole
You
system.
need to white label that.
Yeah,
You need to white label that and start selling that as well.
maybe someday we can make it as a reusable open source thing.
I find it fascinating just how intuitive people are that they can recognize an opportunity to be able to use your platform to mine crypto.
Yeah,
So I understand the separation part, but I just find it fascinating that they can make those associations quite quickly and how they can do it.
yeah. It's like, yeah, if you allow anyone to do basically anything with it, right? It happens. Like imagine yourself coming to a room where there is a computer, a blank computer, and somebody tells you like, "Hey, there's a computer. It's free of charge. Do whatever you want with it," right? Well, either you live it, or you start playing games on it, or you start building a web server that serves your website,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe you identify that it has quite a lot of power and it can quite easily mine crypto. So you start mining crypto and you're not paying for that. Someone else is paying for that from their own pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And was there a point in the business where you realized this could be a risk? Not just the crypto stuff, but the stuff that you shouldn't really be using your platform to do. And like then introducing protection mechanisms for the business is something quite critical that you had to go and address? Or was it a case of when thinking about the product, at the very start of building Deep Note, you're able to actually think about this and build some sort of controls in as you're building the product?
So the systematic controls of like separation and making sure that all of the things are isolated and you can't read data of someone else and so on, those were there from the very beginning, right? So in terms of
Nice.
security, we were very open-minded and tried to like think about all the possible ways how this could go wrong. Because again, there's clients having their production data in our system. We are SOC 2 compliant, we are HIPAA compliant, right? And all of these things are very tedious in you having all the measurements in place. So for protecting our customers, it was I will say the word easy. It wasn't easy, but like it was first class citizen, right? But then protecting ourselves and our pockets and our budgets, that came in as a second place. And we were like, in the beginning, I think I wasn't present in the company, but I heard the stories, right? In the beginning, it was like, yeah, if somebody runs something that's going to chew up a lot of resources, we can just kill it, right? We're going to see it in the monitoring, right? So there was like
Yeah.
somebody running processes, doing a lot of crazy stuff, right? So you just kill it. And then a customer sends you a message, hey, I was having a model being trained for like 40 days in your platform. It was almost finished and you killed it, or it ended, right? What happened? And you're like, oh, geez, yeah, sorry about that. We thought that you're misusing our platform. And you see that's the detecting of what is an actual reasonable use of the platform and what is an abuse. That's the problem.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, talk to us about what building autonomous AI looks like that can really analyze data, because I'm interested to get into this one.
Oh yeah, sure, let's do it. So like we started very slow. There was this AI hype, like ChatGPT came into play and so on. There was this GitHub.
What's ChatGPT?
Yeah, it's this thingy. You basically,
No.
chat with somebody on the other end of the world. You don't know that
Oh, okay.
it used to be called intercom or like technical support. Now it's ChatGPT, basically, right? It's just rebranded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it became a thing.
That's tickled you, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it became a thing, and there was this GitHub Copilot, right? And we had this autocomplete in place for writing the code in our notebooks, and we were thinking like, hey, is there something we can utilize, right? Is it maybe the GitHub Copilot that we could have in our place as well? And we started experimenting with that. We ended up using a bit different vendor for the models for the uh, for the actual functionality, and we introduced that to our platform, and it got a really nice feedback from our customers, right? It was like, yeah, so now I don't have to write all this myself. It kind of predicts what I already want to do. And it's not just like plug and play solution, right? It's not putting a black box of a copilot and putting it into the notebooks. You have to pass it the right context. You need to pass it that, hey, this notebook is having this code or text written upfront. It's having these integrations and connections to those data stores. There is certain schemas or maybe databases, like all of this context, and you have to be very cautious with what you're sending in and what's redundant. So this was our first step into this field, and it got really nice feedback, and we realized that, hey, this is probably the next steps for us. And from that very moment, for the next year, and even now, we still stayed within the AI, and basically one whole core product team is basically working on this AI features. And
Okay.
yeah, we introduced a lot of things on top of that. We introduced a prompts such as ChatGPT, right? So you can write a prompt and it basically creates the content for you, and then we iterated on that. We created like an autonomous prompt where you give it not a prompt like, hey, do this, but you give it a goal, right? You give it a goal. Tell me what this is in my data, or like find in the data if there is a evidence of something. And there is like a agent that basically prompts itself until it reaches the goal that you gave it, right? So it's
Okay.
fully autonomous. It creates the code, it creates the text fields and everything. Then it lets
Okay.
the code run. It evaluates it, sees the results, and then prompts itself to iterate over it. So it can fix errors if there are any like compilation errors and so on. It can tap into your databases, data stores, and so on, and it can work with that.
Okay. Tell me how and if that has in how and if that has improved productivity and morale in teams. I see this like all the time on LinkedIn, other forums, and you and I haven't spoken about this, by the
Yeah.
way. So I'm quite keen to get like some raw feedback on that. Talk to me about if that actually has made a big difference in your team.
So the short answer is definitely yes. The more
Yeah.
complicated answer is it depends, right? So we have very strong signals from certain customers, from certain teams, that this 10x increased their productivity and capabilities and so on. We have people that are not even data engineers or data related, right? We have engineers, like a regular software engineers. We have maybe executives. We have like product managers or whatever, actually creating their own data notebooks without knowing almost anything about Python, R, data, SQL, all of these things. So I think that's a huge boost in productivity. We also have signals from other teams that maybe didn't use the AI at all, or they just tried it and they had to disable it for compliance reasons, right? They are very cautious about sending the context, sending the data to a third-party vendor such as OpenAI and allowing them to maybe train their model on top of that, which is no bueno for them. And yeah, and so for them, of course, it didn't make that much of a difference. And those customers are like, yeah, so guys, you're working on this AI that we're not using at all for the past year. Can you just move on and start fixing the things that we are aiming for and that could have an impact on us? Actually, that's a thing. But for example, I can give you an example from our internal usage of Deepnote. We kind of replaced a lot of tools, such as our like HR tools, ENPS, all of these things. We basically replaced all of that with Deepnote apps. And now a single engineer or single person can just like ask the AI, like, hey, create this and that. It creates it. Of course, you have to iterate a few times, maybe add a few things, tweak this and that. And after like 1 or 2 hours, you basically have a full-on system that fetches your email inbox, filters through all of the emails, make sure it catches all of the whatever applications or customer feedback, puts it into the right column, analyzes how severe that is, like all of these things. And this can be achieved within just a few hours. In the past, you would either have to pay an actual tool for that, or you would need to have an engineer build it for like a month.
Are you using AI in your day-to-day life to improve the way in which you do things? You just said email management, and I know a couple of companies that are building generative AI for SME businesses. Workflow management's really like the critical area that they're trying to solve. Don't know why I'm getting so close to the microphone. I feel important. Um, but are you using AI day to day for yourself?
Yes, we do. All of us do, from the executive levels to the lower engineering levels. Everyone does use ChatGPT, Copilot. Everyone uses Deepnote AI to build things, to evaluate things. Like I would say, and it definitely boosted our productivity as well. I think since the bring of AI, it was very fast for us to actually adapt it. We are paying like a company plan for us, and everyone's I wouldn't say required, but nudged to use AI for whatever possible, because the thing that you don't use AI for is wasted time and wasted potential.
Okay. Do I almost need to go like through a self-evaluation and look at my life and look at what I can automate in AI? Is that what I basically need to do?
Yeah. That's what we do basically, right? Like we are trying to look at all of the parts of the product and our workflows and everything, and we're looking for opportunities that we can automate with AI or otherwise. Doesn't necessarily have to be AI, but the AI allows you to create a non-AI automation as well, which is a huge plus, right?
Okay. Interesting. All right. So the course of 2024, where are we going to see Deepnote? What are we going to see them go and do?
It's a very nice question. I I actually don't know by the end of the year how it's going to look. We have a fuzzy roadmap in front of us. We have a few achievements we want to go through, but we are very, very open minded in what comes, right? We are usually planning just like a few months ahead, and we want to make sure we adapt to the market and we adapt to whatever's coming, right? That's basically what allowed us to integrate the AI into every part of the system in
Yeah.
the first place. Because if we had like a long year plan and we would stick to it, we would just ignore all these signals, and there would probably be another platform or another tool that would do what we do much faster. So yeah, we always, like every 2 months, we sit down and we think about what the next steps are and where we want to be. And it also depends on the customers that come, right? If there's a huge customer that's having some kind of a segment of businesses that they are doing and they need support in some ways, right? Everything else goes aside and we want to support that customer as much as we can.
Smart. I got that vibe as well, and I actually really like the honesty in the answer of I don't know, and it's all right to not know because last year ChatGPT came about and it completely changed, or maybe even late the year before, completely changed the complexity of things. Um, so, and being customer first and being almost like reactive to your customers and like different trends in the market, you can kind of flex it and build what's needed.
Yeah, I hear a lot of times that people are scary of not having a direction or roadmap for years to come and so on. Like we do have the vision of what we want to be Deepnote in a really
Yeah,
nice, bright future, right? And we have the
yeah,
short-term plan, but we don't have necessarily like quarterly planning or yearly planning. And for some people, it's pretty scary that hey, we don't have a direction. What are we gonna do? But for me, actually, it's even more scary to have this in place, right? To be an enterprise that has a plan for 10 years ahead. It's like, yeah, so now I know what 10 years ahead is in front of me and what else can I do, right? There is no room
yeah.
for improvements. There is no room for doing some D rounds and so on. Yeah, I think that's where I want to sit in.
Good. Lastly, a good opportunity to talk to the market or talk to the people, the subscribers. Where are you hiring for? What skills are you hiring for? Whether that's now, whether that's at some point over the course of this year, that'd be a good chance to talk about it.
Yeah, so we are hiring basically all the time, and we are hiring opportunistically, right? We want the brightest minds and the people with the best ideas to come in and work with us. Especially if you're someone who worked with notebooks in the past, or maybe you've been working on an IDE or similar project. I think that's the perfect fit for you. But we also have people that didn't do that in the past, and it's totally okay. As long as you have the passion and the vision, I think that's the perfect space for you. Well, we don't have like a top to bottom planning where somebody will tell you what you need to do. We actually require everyone to come up with their own idea, with their own projects, with their own initiatives,
Love that.
and then own it and implement it. Whether it's design, product, engineering, operations, you name it. So if you are that kind of a person, I think that's the right space for you.
Okay. Love that. Very, very Silicon Valley. Like it. Vojtech, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure. Um, this is going to be one of those podcasts that I'm going to check in 12 months' time, see where you guys and girls are. No doubt we'll be chatting over the course of this year anyway. But I want to say a big thanks. Really awesome product, awesome mission, and I'm keen to see where you guys, even quarter by quarter, and what you're building. But some of the stuff that you've spoken about today is really cutting edge. Thanks so much for coming to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was really nice and pleasure talking to you. And I'm glad that I could share what's under the hood, because it's usually you're in the rush of like delivering things and thinking about the future, thinking about the things that you've done, evaluating how you've done, right? But you rarely have this time and place where you just like calm down and you start talking like to a friend. Hey, we have this and that we are building on top of this. I think that's a really nice platform to have, and I'm super glad that I was here.
Love it. And for everyone watching this, likes, shares, subscribing, it all counts. It all contributes to the community. This is what makes Engineers Podcast what it is. The many hundreds, thousands of people that do get involved and push this forward and share and talk to their friends and go and join these businesses is what makes this go round. So massive thanks. All the relevant links will be below for you guys to get in touch with Deepnote, Vojtech, see where they're hiring, and it's a big thanks from us.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Engineers.io. It's no underscore. We've also got a website, which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.